Moat is a digital measurement company, and we're independent, which means we don't buy or sell media. What we do is we help brands like P&G and Nestle and Unilever and a number of the biggest companies in the world, Anheuser-Busch, Miller Coors, figure out how to measure success of digital advertising. And we do that by enabling our technology on their advertising, as well as via our publisher platform partners. So folks like Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube, NBC Universal, Fox, ABC, and many others.
Mm-hmm. And how specifically does the technology work?
Yeah, so technology works by essentially we provide our technology either via a JavaScript tag, via an SDK for mobile, via any sort of, it has to travel in some sort of technological format, but it essentially travels in a format usually with the creative. So when somebody traffics a creative, with that creative will come our technology, and then when the ad actually runs, we're able to, in a thoughtful way, do measurement, census level measurement. So we're actually tracking how many times the ad was shown, how many times was it in view, for how long was it in view for, and then we go beyond that to try to really understand. The idea of Moat is to try to understand attention, and so we want to understand not just was somebody exposed to an ad, but maybe did they pay attention, and so we ask a lot of other questions using our technology beyond that.
So going into this year's Upfront, what themes do you find interesting? What are you going to be looking for? What are you going to be talking about to your clients?
Yeah, so the Upfronts are interesting. So we are honored to work with a number of the largest broadcasters. So from Turner to NBC Universal to Fox and virtually every major broadcaster, we are working together with them in digital. And I think increasingly, digital is becoming encompassing of not just what we thought of as digital, but digital, connected TV, and maybe ultimately TV. And I think when we think about what's happening at the Upfronts, I think we're seeing this conversion. So it used to be the case that we said, there's TV over here, there's digital over here, and within digital maybe there's mobile over here and some other sort of silos. I think we're beginning to actually change that. We're beginning to unify these platforms. I think NBC Universal announced earlier this month that they're doing a couple of new things in terms of audience targeting. We're specifically doing something with Fox coming up for this year's Upfronts, where they're really focused on attention. And they're really focused on how to understand not just things like viewability, but how do we understand attention in television, in connected TV, in other types of environments. And so we're working closely with them. They have a platform called TrueX, which has really been a driver of attention narratives and sort of thinking outside of the box in terms of advertising. And so we're partnering with them and trying to figure out how do we understand attention through a better lens in television. That'll be this year's Upfronts.
So how exactly will that work for Fox? What will you be doing with Fox and TrueX?
Yeah, well, so I can't describe too many things yet because this is coming up obviously in the future, but what I can say is that we are Fox's partner where we do measurement for them of what we call attention, which is starting with viewability, moving on to time, and then ultimately asking questions like how long was somebody there, what did they do, did they interact with the ad, did they choose to be there, was it opt-in, was it a 15-second ad, a 5-second ad, did it take over part of the screen, did it take over the entire screen? So we try to essentially triangulate attention is what Moat does. With Fox, we're essentially applying that technology to try to understand attention in the environments that they create. And so they're really focused on delivering attention for their clients, and I think that's going to be one of their key themes at this year's Upfront, but we'll have to wait and see in May.
So in recent weeks, it seems that the issues of fraud and viewability have sort of taken a back seat, at least as far as headlines go, to safe environments. Have things changed much, let's say, over the last 6 to 9 months in terms of safe environments, or is it just that it's in the headlines?
And just that it's in the headlines. So first of all, what we've heard from our clients for a long time is we want to reach a human being who can see our ads in the right environment, and then we want to know that they actually paid attention, that it was effective, that it led to some impact. So the environment has always been part of the conversation. In fact, I think one of the biggest misses we've had as a digital ecosystem is not asking enough questions about in what context somebody was exposed to an ad. So that might mean bad context, something you don't want to be around, to maybe just not relevant context. And so I think we have an opportunity to ask far better questions about the environment in which we're serving ads. I think the headlines of the recent headlines around brand safety issues and being exposed with advertisers in front of content that they thought was really bad for their brand in a number of cases, I think has brought that topic to sort of the forefront. But I think it's always been important, and it's just gotten a heightened level of focus recently. But at the end of the day, a marketer wants to know, I spent a bunch of money to reach a bunch of people. Did I reach those people, so human? Did they see it, viewable, or have an opportunity to see it? In what environment, and was it impactful? And those are the types of things that we try to help marketers begin to answer.
So for you, it's context and environment are the same?
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're sort of two things. So environment, you can be in a safe environment where there's nothing objectionable with the completely wrong context. As an example, you could be advertising while somebody's doing medical research, or you could be advertising while somebody's on a lunch break looking at celebrity photos. So I would say that's context. Brand safety, so-called brand safety, is were you in an environment with objectionable content or not. The two, though, have a level of overlap. And so my view is if we sort of broaden it, whether you want to call it context or environment, the question is what was around you when your ad was exposed to the consumer? And beyond that, what was the user doing? What was the person doing? Were they paying attention to a piece of content and then seeing your ad? Were they doing medical research and your ad was sort of peripheral to what they were doing? Did they specifically choose to see your ad? Or did they have to see your ad based on what the ad experience was? So those are the types of things that we're hearing from marketers as an important thing to understand. We have to remember the way that television historically worked, the way that print historically worked, was fairly simple in the sense that a TV ad looks the same whether it runs on NBC or ABC. A digital ad looks very different whether it runs on one platform or another. And so the dynamics in digital in terms of how big the ad is, whether you initiated it, whether it runs midway through you watching a video, at the beginning of a video, whether it has anything to do with content in the end of the day. And so there's a lot of things that are different in digital that make it more challenging that we're trying to help people answer.
Okay. You're doing some interesting work with Nielsen Catalina and Kellogg and Yahoo to try to correlate offline activity. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so we fundamentally are trying to ask a question about does a positive exposure to a human being lead to something good? What is good? Well, from a brand's perspective, good means a business outcome, like sales, like brand lift, like someone remembering my brand or having an intent to purchase it. And so we did a study with Nielsen Catalina and Kellogg's and Yahoo where we basically said when Moat tracks metrics around viewability, exposure time, and other things, can we tie that to an impact in the offline world? In other words, can we literally see that people are buying more boxes of cereal from Kellogg's as a result of higher exposure time to ads on a platform like Yahoo or in any other environment? And the short answer is yes. We actually have begun to be able to decrypt this a little bit. We've begun to be able to understand what an exposure potentially leads to in the offline world. And it's something that we actually started working on with Nielsen Catalina a little ways back. We've done some studies with what used to be called Datalogics, which is now part of Oracle Data Cloud, in the same vein. And so this whole area of how do we understand offline impact is critical, and here's why. 92% of all retail spend in the United States still happens offline. So we're all on our phones at the point that somebody made to me earlier. Everyone's on their phone on their ride to work, on the train to work, etc. Yet we still buy most of the stuff that we buy in the physical world, and that's really important. That'll change over time. We'll enable better measurement over time. We'll be able to track maybe what people are buying based on location and all these other great things. But today, as we sit here today, we spend most of our time increasingly in digital, and we still buy most of the things that we buy in the physical world. And so that's the gap that we're trying to solve for.